mentioned, the Archon strategy whatsoever that are, you know, you could say, Gene, they are all infiltrated in everywhere, in every aspect of the 3D and matrix, right?
Yes, indeed. And the Anunnaki are part of the NAA, or negative alien agenda type. They're from the system known as Nemesis. It has 7 planets. One is Nibiru, which most people, they heard also Planet X. And there's a lot of fear factor with that. Doesn't need to happen. So I did this decode on Backstage Unleashed on Blessed to Teach.
Yeah.
But our system, our star system of Sol, and our 11 planets, we actually have 11. The first planet, they don't even tell you, it was discovered in the 1800s, is Vulcan. It orbits in the corona of the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So Earth is actually the 4th planet at the 3rd. And then we have a 3-star star system, with our trinary. The other 2 stars is a blue dwarf that's called, looks like this. It's called Clarion, and it has one large planet that orbits it, which is called Maitreya. It's a huge planet. And then the other stars, and this is a picture that shows our sun way out here. This is Clarion. This is Maitreya in orbit from Solar Warden ship, showing our sun. And this bump is actually, this was taken in 2016. So this is when Nemesis, the brown dwarf of the other trinary star that orbits ours, this star orbits on a much longer orbit system than Nemesis does. But Nemesis came through our system from 2016 through 2019. That's the bump there. Mm-hmm. And so this is looking from orbit of Maitreya past Clarion to Sol, our sun, and Nemesis coming around behind our sun. So Clarion orbits our sun at 250,000 years. Maitreya's doesn't come through our system. It's too far out from its sun to come through, but Clarion does. And it's not due to come back into our system for 120,000 years. And then Nemesis, the second of the 2-star solar system that orbits ours, is also known as Wormwood or Taichi. And it has 7 planets, as I stated earlier. They're inhabited by the 3 outer planets, which is Helion, Argoda, and Nibiru, are inhabited by the Anunnaki, which are a slave race that were taken over by the Alpha Draco. Also, Nibiru is often called Planet X, or the 10th planet, where it's actually not part of our system. It orbits our system. And the reason Nibiru is not actually noticed by people observatories on Earth for a long time is because it comes in at an 86-degree angle. Mm-hmm. So if you're on Earth and you have observatories looking out this way, you're not going to see something coming up from under the ecliptic at an 86-degree angle. And then it goes behind the sun, and first it comes in from behind Earth, goes behind the sun, and it actually this time arced in and between us and the sun. It has a permutation. It does. This is its normal orbit, but due to the other planets like Jupiter and things, it's sometimes pushed into a slightly different orbit. It passed between us and the sun. So when it first came in 2016, it was actually seen. It has an 86-degree angle orbit through our system. It takes 3.5 years to pass through our system. And it's why the Earth has what's called the precession of the Mazzaroth in the Bible, or the precession of the zodiac, where the Earth rotates 1 degree on its axis every 72 years. So that means, because as it comes in, it's going to, the electromagnetic fields are lined up. So the pole of Nibiru and Nemesis will push on Earth's pole, because magnetically the same field pushes. So it causes the Earth to wobble out. And then as it goes out, it wobbles back. So it has a wobble equal to the orbit of that system. So that's 25,920 years. Since it left, it's not going to be back for over 25,900 years. So it's long gone. Won't be back for a long time. So this push is because of the alignment of the poles. Zachary Sitchin stated that it has a 3,600 or 4,400 year orbit. That's not its orbit around our sun. That's Nebu's orbit around its sun. It has an ecliptical orbit that oscillates between 3,600 years to 4,400 years. So Nebu's orbit around its sun, Nemesis, varies, and that's the length of their year, not the orbit around our sun. And so he mistranslated quite a few things he didn't really understand. And he also was paid by the deep state to put an agenda that the Anunnaki created the human race. They created the Cabal. They're the ones that engineered the Cabal, the bloodlines of Cain, to mine gold for them. And so when they left, the Cabal, they genetically used Draco, Cro-Magnon, Neanderthal, and mix that together and got a species to mine gold for them. It's not humanity. We were already here. That's why you read in the Bible when Cain killed Adam, he went out of the garden. He found a wife. Where? What wife? Human wife. So that's how he found a wife. In other words, there's already people here before he went out. If it was only Adam and Eve and Cain at that time, there's no wife to be found, and his sons found wives too. So as it goes on, so you have the bloodlines of Cain creating the Cabal. And so that's 13 bloodlines that they created, 13 different types of workers to mine the gold, because the reason they need gold, you can print pretty much anything except for genetic material in a printer, or a 3D printer that prints literally like food or something like that. You can print simple stuff. Gold is unique in that how gold forms is it transmutes from silicon crystals, quartz. That's why you see a silicon crystal, like a quartz crystal, you can sometimes see what's called retilated gold strands running through it. As it's bombarded by particles, it will pick up particles and get more protons forming in the nucleus. And so it'll jump and become gold. When it does that, it's taking on the energy of the area that it's transmitting. So if it's doing that in Thailand, for example, Thai gold is very deep orangish, almost red, and it's softer than the gold formed in the American continents, which is harder and brighter yellow. So how can the same element have a different hardness, a different ductility, and a different color if it's just an element? Yeah. It can't. It actually has a different energy structure, what is called the etheric structure. Just like we have an etheric body below the physical body, all things have an etheric structure below the physical. So the structure of gold picks up the energy of what it's like. So they needed gold from Earth to reseed their atmosphere, because Nemesis, the Nebu that orbits Nemesis, they had done so much industrialization and nuclear war when the Draco took them over that it pretty much wasted their atmosphere to where they're very nearly barely able to keep life going on that planet. So they require gold in a monatomic form. Monatomic, mono one, atomic means at the atomic level it's been altered such it's essentially alchemy, where you create two of the dimensionals to go into interdimensional. So it becomes one dimension in the 3D third density, height, width, depth, it's now essentially only one dimensional. So 2 dimensions are in the etheric level. So it's pulling energy from the etheric level directly into the physical. So you can reseed a planet's atmosphere in just days. If you could completely cover the atmosphere, in other words, dust it with monatomic gold.
Yeah.
So Nemesis, as it comes through, because it's full of iron in its atmosphere from all the industrial stuff they do, it blows off these what looks like horns. And the sun has that, and so does Nebu. And so they both blow off these horn-looking things of iron ore. And it's also a brown dwarf. So it gets a solar wind from our sun hitting it that creates these horns coming off. And again, it comes in at an 86-degree angle. And it came in 2012, like the Mayans said, the end of the time, not the end of creation or Earth or something. But it came in behind the Earth, and then it came back out in 2015 and went between us and the Earth and went out back under our system. And Maitreya does the same thing in reverse. It comes in and goes back out at an 86-degree angle. And Maitreya is actually, I know this is hard to see, this comes up underneath the ecliptic or the orbit of most of the planets.
Yep.
And Maitreya comes from above at 86 degrees. So again, you're not going to see either one normally. This is actually a picture taken of Nemesis going behind the sun in 2018. And here is a picture of Helion and Argota and Nemesis taken in the southern hemisphere in 2015. So you can see it here.
Yeah.
So this is already, first it was shown in the southern hemisphere because it comes up underneath, goes in behind the sun. Then it was shown up in the far northern hemisphere, coming up in Canada and in Norway and places like that. They could see it coming back out. Here's another picture from the southern hemisphere of Nemesis, Helion, Argota, Nibiru, and some other primary like Saturn, Jupiter, etc. Like, I'm watching them dance around on the moon, and I'm going, something's radically wrong with this picture. They're jumping down a hill, and if the gravity is 1/6, your muscle strength goes up as the inverse square, which means if you can gently jump up at, say, 2 to 3 inches, 6 times that's 18 inches. That's 1.5 feet. They're not getting 1.5 feet to 2 feet off the ground. They're just like double what they should be. So it's like it's 52% gravity or 48%, somewhere in there. And that actually is the case. There's a slight atmosphere on the moon. You can see the dust when they first landed hangs there for quite a long time. It's 15 minutes before it all settles. In a vacuum, what's keeping it up? It would fall very quickly. It would settle very quickly. So I'm looking at that. There's a lot of things. And then the first time the orbital went around the backside of the moon at 75 miles up, they adjusted it to 150 miles. I mean, if you went there with a certain amount of fuel, that cuts your stay time. That's got to be extremely important. It turns out on the backside of the moon, the towers, the transparent aluminum towers and titanium and steel towers are still up from the war. Some of them weren't knocked down. On this side, they were knocked down by particle beams from Lemuria when the war between Atlantis and Lemuria. But on the backside, you can't hit them. And so a lot of them are still up unless they took them down by ships. And they had towers that were 100 miles high and 125 miles zipping past the windows. They're like, whoa, what was that? Oh no, there goes another one. NASA came out, we have a problem. We don't want to do that again. We might get whacked. So they moved them up because of that. So they're, I started becoming aware. And as finally I had my epiphany in 1990, I had a spy guy that actually a spook that hacked into NASA and showed me a live feed from the backside of the moon, bounced off a satellite of the lunar rover driving under a dome around a lake. And I'm like, and there was stuff all over. There was like stuff all over the backside of my lake. Is this live? And he goes, yeah. I go, there's stuff everywhere. He goes, yeah, that's how there is. I mean, there's no, the reason the NAZIs had to make a deal with the Draco, there's no available property of real estate up there. You got to bargain to get a patch of ground to build on. That's how they built their swastika-shaped base, was they had to bargain with the Draco because there's not a patch of anything that's not up there that wasn't already spoken for. And so that's what got me into learning all about our solar system. And I go to the observatory or and they go through the planets as they do, and they're looking for life, and they say, oh, there's no life here, there's no life there. They go by Ceres, like we talked about before, and they go, well, there's water, and like I showed you in the picture, and there's greenery here, but there's no life. we'll come back. They don't say there's no life. They go, we'll just come back to that later. I'm like, yeah, right. So where we left off with Ceres, which is all I did was blow this up and change the contrast and take down, the contrast so that it's not hazy. And I get this. This is a continent with water and green patches. So, I mean, even the people that go there, they come on the side and they have windows when they look out so they don't see this, but that it has blue and water, like they said in the observatory. I'm like, I mean, come on, how obvious can you be? And then, so our planets, again, that we have in our system, and this is actually a picture of the ISIS space station. And like I said before, you can already see 4D, 5D Earth, what Ashina Dean, and I like the term median on Aurora Earth. Median is fourth density and fifth density life exists here already, positive. And cities and everything are already built there. Yeah, there's not many people there. And then for third density positive, they go to Venus, which already, as I think I've shown earlier on your platform, has a oxygen atmosphere now, hydrogen, oxygen atmosphere, neon, nitrogen like Earth. And then it already has completely built buildings. And there's a guy that's doing YouTubes and he's walking around on there and it's the year 2024, but nobody's there. He goes to the airport and there's all the, everything's on, but nobody's anywhere. It's like he has cell phone coverage to Earth here in 2021, and people are telling him, go here and leave a set of keys. He does, they find it. They're like freaking out. He's in Madrid. It looks like Madrid. He thinks he's in Madrid. He's actually on Venus for third density positive. Once the rapture happens, people will be taken there by ship for the people that are at third density positive. And the third density negatives will stay here. So you can see the timing is slightly different. When it's daylight here, this is the same side you're looking at. Daylight's shining here. Daylight's not over there because they're actually in a different time zone, so to speak. And so we have, as I've gone through, just to reiterate, the first planet is actually Vulcan, and they don't want people to know about this either. It's in the corona of the sun. It was detected in 1860 by a French mathematician. He figured it out and then found it. By Urbain. You can probably pronounce that better than I can, Taino, since you speak French.
Yeah, so you said it right, Urbain. Yeah, Le Verrier, that's right.
Urbain Le Verrier?
Exactly.
Le Verrier?
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. He announced the discovery of Vulcan, a planet orbiting between Mercury and the Sun, to the members of the Academy of Science in Paris. He found it through calculations and required its presence in oscillations in the orbit of Mercury. That explained these oscillations were due previously to sunspot activity, and he showed that the large variance were due to this massive planet it's bigger than Earth in the corona of the sun, actually. And then we have Mercury and Venus, like most people know, and Earth, and we have another Earth now that is in orbit. And then we have Mars, and we have Ceres, which is the remnants of Tiamat. Or Mahaldek goes by several names. Gaia is the true name of it originally before it was blown up by the war between the Adamite civilization that was on Mars, that the Cabal, the Satanists, again, in the Draco and all that, got them to get involved with the Jovians. And so that exploded, and what's left is Ceres. And most of the water of that planet and the atmosphere created the rings of Jupiter. And then it destroyed most and tore off most of the water of Mars, and its liquid core, which is polarized in two pieces. Its liquid core of its sun. It's in the internal part of it, as all planets are hollow. They have a liquid core, heavy metal, nuclear metals, mostly sun. And the two chunks of that were not nuclear became the Phobos and Deimos for the Mars moons. That's why they're exactly the same age as the asteroid belt, which is about 167 million years ago. Or excuse me, 500,000 years ago. I'm thinking to a different event, sorry. So this all occurred about 500,000 years ago. Then you have Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Pluto and Chidron are two halves of an original planet. So they orbit each other. They were also broken up in that war. And It's part of it. There's an asteroid belt between there, which is part of the mantle of that now broken planet as well. The liquid mantle. And so during the cataclysm, the human race took refuge on another planet in the solar system, which was a moon of Tiamat. And it was called Eden Earth, which was displaced where our Earth is now. Mm-hmm. And it became what we know as Earth. While the Atlans built a giant space ark, the moon. The Atlans are the Martians. And they became the Atlanteans and brought in orbit around the Eden Earth 445,000 years ago. The Anunnaki came to the home, and the Anunnaki are from our sister solar system. If you remember, I presented that. Yep. So that was Nibiru, Argoda, and Helion. Their home planet is Nibiru, which is the seventh planet of the Nemesis star system, which is a brown dwarf that orbits the Earth every 29,720 years. It left our system in 2000, I think it's 19, if I remember correct, early 2019 or late 2018, somewhere in there. My memory's not too good. I'm still fighting the Magellans here, so sorry I don't get dates perfect. They came to Earth to mine gold, first posing as gods because they hit with the Draco there. The slaves of the Draco would take them over and force them to serve them. And so their atmosphere looks like this. It's completely polluted and dark, much like you see in the movie Matrix. Mm-hmm. So to reseed their atmosphere, you can make monatomic gold, where two of the dimensions of gold are in the etheric or quantum realm. And so it pulls literally from the word of God and reorganizes matter, and it can clean up this mess. So they came to Earth to get what's called native gold. You can make gold in a printer, but it's not native gold. Whenever gold is created, whether it's through transmutation of quartz by picking up more protons and neutrons in the nucleus to become gold, or you put it in a printer, it picks up the quantum signature where it forms, so it's different. And so like Thai gold is very orange-ish red compared to American gold, and it's a little softer. If it's all the same, how could it have a different color and a different ductility and hardness? And it's also American gold is a little bit more ductile than the Thai gold. So they posed as gods and came as the rulers of humanity. And they tried to force humanity to mine for them, but it didn't work out too well. So there was what was known as the Pyramid Wars. So after several centuries of increasingly oppressive treatment that led to the eventual total enslavement of the human race, a rebellion war happened. They were enslaving us to mine gold that resulted in what was known as the Pyramid Wars, which is the cause of the destruction of the advanced civilization of Uyghur. And we know about the Chinese enslaving the Uyghurs and what they do. And that's the remnant. That's why the Gobi Desert is a desert. It used to be like the Sahara. That's the other part of that civilization, a tropical rainforest. And they dropped antimatter bombs and it rained sand for 1,000 years. And in the Gobi, still to this day, the winds blow up mummies and gold coins. And in the Sahara, people don't go out there, it's too hot. But if you're to dig it pretty much anywhere 150 feet down, usually 40 feet down in the sand, you can find artifacts and building remnants and things. So these lush rainforests are what's, originally, and this vastly advanced civilization of the humans were vastly advanced, way more than we are now.